So I wanted to have a chat about dummies. Dummies are strangely controversial. They really don't need to be. I remember a friend of mine saying, "Oh, we've succumbed to a dummy like it was a big parenting fail." It really isn't. Your kid isn't going to turn into a sociopath just because you've given them a dummy. We actually do use dummies to help premature babies develop sucking reflexes, and there is some evidence out there that suggests that they do help in prevention of sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. So they're really fine, and if you've done that, then you're not going to get any parent shaming from me. I just thought it would be handy to have some info out there, because I think maybe part of the reason they've got a bad rep is because sometimes or often they can get used for too long or overused, and that's when they cause problems. So here's a bit of info, and then I'm quite sure you're sensible enough to decide on what to do and when to stop. So the first thing to know about dummies is that they can be linked to ear infections. So especially if your child suffers from ear infections, there's quite a lot of evidence to suggest that sopping a dummy will actually help them not to get any more ear infections. I know that sounds really weird. Why does the dummy cause ear infections? The reason is that there is a tube that links the back of your throat with your ear. It's called the eustachian tube, and what happens when a child has a dummy, it happens anyway, but happens more with a dummy because obviously if they're a bit snotty, snot gets on the dummy, those bacteria get into the mouth, that infection can then track up that tube into the inner ear and cause an ear infection. So that's a handy thing to know. Another handy thing to know is that it can affect the way that your child's teeth grow. So this is a really extreme example there, but you can see that instead of the teeth being straight across, they grow like that, and it actually can, with a lot of use, affect their jaw position, their jaw alignment, and the way that their adult teeth then grow. So that's a really important one to know that the dentist would want me to tell you. On that note, if you do go down the route of a dummy, then apparently these orthodontic ones with the flat bit are better than just the round ones. So that's another little tip. It can also cause a child to drool more than they would to dribble, and that's because they don't generally get used to having their mouth closed when they're just playing and not talking and stuff. They tend to have a bit of a open mouth posture, breathe through their mouth, and obviously that means that they can dribble a bit more, and also they're sort of more used to it being wet around their mouth from where they're sucking, so they don't develop that sensitivity to know to swallow when they get a load of dribble at the front of their mouth. The main reason for making this video about dummies, obviously from a speech and language point of view, is that what they generally do is stop a child from babbling and making noises with their mouth. So speech doesn't just start with single words when children start to say words or to attempt words. It actually starts with all those cooing noises that babies make, and the babbling, especially the ba ba ba, da da da, those kind of sounds that they might make while they're just sitting there, while they're talking to you, while you're talking to them, and when they're in the car or whatever. Those are really, really important things to be doing, because that is their mouth limbering up. That's their brain learning how to control their mouth. So when they come to speak, what they have to do is make lots and lots of very precise movements at lightning speed. So they really need to do that practice, do that babbling. And when they've got a dummy in their mouth, we know that research shows us that children don't tend to make noises and babble when they're sucking on something because their mouth is busy. So especially if you're using a dummy, make sure that it's not during play, it's not during any other times than when they really need it to soothe them, because it's a soothing thing, it's to calm them down. So if they're happy and they're playing, then they don't need it in there. And that will also help you when it comes to get rid of it if they're not used to having it all the time or a lot of the time. The NHS say that the best time to get rid of a dummy is between 6 and 12 months, so children shouldn't be using that after 12 months. I always say that, maybe with some children who might have some developmental difficulties or something, occasionally there's a reason why we might keep that longer, but most of the time that can make a big difference, especially if a child's not talking as they should, to get rid of the dummy. The advice about how to do it is that some children do better if you wean them off it gradually. Other children do better when you just go cold turkey. That's probably what I do as a parent, and that's the reason why I've kind of made this video near to Christmas, is because what a lot of people do is say, right, we're going to give it to Father Christmas and he's going to bring you some presents instead, and they sort of prepare their child for that, and that works quite well. So to go along with this video, we've done you a visual so that you can show that to your child if their understanding might not be quite up to that level, or you just want to show them this is what's going to happen. You're going to leave the dummy for Father Christmas, and then he's going to take that away and give you some presents instead. For some people, Christmas isn't a great time of year, and to those people I'd say, you know, just be kind to yourself, get through Christmas and do it another time. It doesn't matter what time you pick a good time for you, and Christmas is crazy and hectic, so it's just a suggestion that worked for some people. And you know, some friends of mine, I gave them this advice about, you know, it's about time that the dummy went, and her husband's reaction was to say, is it acceptable for us to make a dartboard of your face? Because they knew that, you know, or they thought that it was going to be a really tough thing. And actually I got a text a couple of days later saying he didn't really notice. We just got rid of them all and asked for it a couple of times, and then that was that. So I promise it'll be easier when you come to get rid of it. It'll be easier than you think. Don't give yourself a hard time about it in the meantime. It really is fine. And yeah, if you have any problems, I guess you can always make a dartboard of my face. Okay, Merry Christmas.